Since its release on April 4th, 2014, The Elder Scrolls Online has gone through an unprecedented evolution. A buggy mess with a confusing launch on only one of 3 promised platforms, a doomed-to-fail subscription model, and all manner of player and bot exploitation issues. ESO looked to be a disastrous, dead-on-arrival failure for Bethesda. But something happened. Over the next 3 years, a gaming publisher would show an unparalleled display of commitment to its success and faith in its developer, ZeniMax Online Studios. This is how The Elder Scrolls Online went from the gates of Oblivion to the heavenly reaches of Aetherius. The awful condition in which ESO was originally launched in 2014 cannot be understated. First and foremost, it was absolutely chock full of game-breaking bugs and wacky glitches.
What the fuck? What the fuck is going on? Really? I'm just what the fuck? What this fucking what?
Whole buildings disappeared, doors floated in the air, and NPCs' bodies contorted like something out of the latest Grudge movie. Dungeons were filled with bots and fellow players who simply waited for various end bosses to respawn in order to farm for gold and resources. Bethesda's shiny new MMO was free falling. Torn apart by critics and players alike, it somehow managed to displease both the Elder Scrolls and the MMO crowds. All of the weaknesses with none of the strengths. So what the hell happened? What changed? Well, obviously patching out many of these bugs and stabilizing the servers was the first move. Oftentimes, that's about as much progress as is made from just about any other publisher. However, it's important to realize that The Elder Scrolls Online represented a lot of firsts for Bethesda. It was ZeniMax Online Studios' first ever game, and Bethesda's first foray into MMO territory. It had been 7 years in development and cost untold millions. So instead of giving up and just taking the loss, Bethesda and ZeniMax Online set out to do what I imagine most players probably didn't give them the credit for, or really think that they'd ever see. They would make changes or improvements to nearly every facet of the game over the next few years. Grouping and socializing would become much easier, much more streamlined. Single-player PvE quests would become more numerous, filling out the near-empty, barren landscapes, which had inspired many players to classify the game as a running simulator. Loot and resources would be instanced among groups and guilds. They took the feedback and went further than anyone could have possibly hoped. And as the game released on consoles in 2015, rebranded as The Elder Scrolls Online Tamriel Unlimited, the ESO community would come to find out that these enhancements were just the beginning in a wave of content and meaningful updates that would not only resurrect Elder Scrolls Online, but redefine it.
Time was this was our town. One heist gone bad, now we're hiding, biding our time. The guild, a shadow of what it used to be. It's a tough time to be a thief in a bar's landing.
The ruins of Mazatun. The cradle of shadows. Unveil the Lady of Lace. Find her idol of worship. Learn her notes, then destroy her. Crush these savages.
No one escapes, Mother! Not afraid of the dark, are you?
Welcome, initiates, to the Dark Brotherhood.
With its release on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One in June of 2015, ESO now had the words Tamriel Unlimited printed on each and every one of its shiny new cases. Primarily a way of remarketing the game without the requirement of a monthly subscription, Elder Scrolls Online was now offering a buy-and-play model that allowed millions of new players like myself to experience the already heavily improved version of the game. This release had also laid the groundwork for a number of fantastic DLC packs to be released in the coming months. They included content that worked well for both single-player and grouping multiplayers alike. Now, Dark Brotherhood, Thieves Guild, Imperial City, and Shadows of the Hist all were awesome, welcome additions to the continued ethos that was making ESO feel more like an Elder Scrolls game. The most important of these DLC releases, however, was Orsinium.
Is this one of the outsiders who responded to my invitation? Welcome to Orsinium.
I am Kurog, King of the Orsimer. We will rebuild Orsinium, make it stronger. Whoever dares oppose the uniting of the Orc clans will feel my wrath. Welcome to my war.
Orsinium wasn't just a big new map with lots of great story content, though that's all true. It laid the necessary foundation for what would become ESO's most important enhancement. When players entered the cold and gorgeous Hrothgar Mountains, they found that all content was leveled to each of them individually. Suddenly, friends separated by dozens of levels could just group up and level their characters at the same rate, and receive loot at their individual levels. This not only further revolutionized the grouping, but unlocked the heart of what makes Elder Scrolls so special to so many: exploration. When huge swaths of land are cut off because the content is simply too high a level, the progression and experience of the game's world becomes stilted and frustrating. Orsinium allowed all players to enjoy its fantastic content regardless of how far along their characters were. This seemingly simple idea would become the final step in Elder Scrolls Online's evolution to becoming one of the best MMOs on the market. However, this was only found in Orsinium. Orsinium would foster the unification of all the game's content into one giant adventure. That would be through an update called One Tamriel.
A core philosophy in the Elder Scrolls Online is to constantly make the game better. Since launch, we've regularly been adding innovative features such as the Justice system and the Champion system, and we're about to make another game changer. Tonight, we're announcing One Tamriel, marking another major evolution of gameplay in the Elder Scrolls Online. With One Tamriel, all characters will be automatically leveled to content in the world, allowing them to freely group with anyone they want, and also to explore the vast world of Tamriel with no level restrictions. This means all content barriers are gone and there are no restrictions on alliances or questing. From the moment you get out of the tutorial, the entire game world is open for you to explore freely. You can go wherever you want and play with whomever you want. This is the first time this has ever been done in a multi-platform RPG. We'll think you'll love it.
At Bethesda's E3 conference in June 2016, director Matt Firer would make that massive announcement. This was, as he stated, a game changer. Opening up the entirety of ESO's world completely shifts the way in which questing and leveling is achieved. It further opened up the game to literally any kind of playstyle. I tend to play ESO like I would play any other Elder Scrolls game, solo. I just personally love experiencing the lore and meeting dozens of interesting NPCs and just exploring this huge map, and this update released an overwhelming amount of content for me to sink my teeth in that was previously blocked off to me. It also allows these guilds and groups of friends to more easily get together. The update just takes ESO from good to great. 1 Tamriel was released on October of 2016, but perhaps what made ESO truly special is that each and every ounce of progress that is made has simply been a stepping stone, a platform the developers have used to push the level of quality and value even higher with each release. That's exactly what 1 Tamriel did, as it became the basis for which ESO's next biggest expansion would rest upon. Morrowind is the pinnacle of the Elder Scrolls Online, a monument to the incredible amount of work and resources Bethesda and ZeniMax Online have poured into the game, taking all the lessons learned from the mistakes of its past and fusing them with all of those successful progresses made. Morrowind is not just an expansion, but a testament to the development team's redemption in the eyes of Elder Scrolls fans everywhere. Morrowind has released to very positive critical reception, and the handful of hours I've managed to sink into this new content has bared that out so far. If history is any indication, then Morrowind is just the beginning. It's not a coincidence that ESO's rocky past became the crucible from which its successes arose. And the future is brighter than ever.